Couple of fun ones, huh?
I was gonna say, what was your attitude? It started out kind of slow, right? Do you start worrying when you start off that way?
Listen, it happens. I felt like, I said it earlier, Reed was tired in the first round. That fight was just kind of I don't know. Listen, you should know by now when you come here, you go for broke, man. And if you don't feel like it, you're going for broke. Even, I don't know if you guys can hear the commentary, but even Bisping was like, are they serious right now? This is, they'll go back and they'll watch the tape and they'll realize, what they did wrong.
Yeah, no question. Gravely, it seemed like you were really impressed with him. He put on a complete performance. Talk about what you thought of him.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a guy who, which one are you talking about?
Tony Gravely, the second.
Yeah. So when you two guys that are super experienced and have won titles in the smaller shows and finally get this opportunity on the big stage, and you get a guy who finishes a guy who's never been TKO'd or KO'd in 20 fights. It was an impressive fight by both guys. I love that fight.
He came in at like 18-5. I mean, it's not a prospect. You got 23 fights in your belt. What do you think when you see a guy with that record that hasn't gotten a look from you guys yet?
Yeah, you got to probably look at the 5 fights. Might have been right there, and those were the fights that he didn't win to get over that hump, and tonight was his night.
I wonder, he was a guy that said, man, I've been training for this since I was 7 years old. I mean, you've been around long enough now that you're starting to see guys that started out as little kids thinking they wanted to be in the UFC.
Yeah.
I mean, does that strike you as like kind of cool or something special?
Well, it's something that Lorenzo and I used to talk about. The key in the early days was to get back on television, because once you get on television, that's when dads and uncles and brothers are watching the big fights, and little kids get caught up in the energy, because there's nothing like the energy of a fight, and people who are fight fans watching fights, and that's what ends up creating fighters. And the Ultimate Fighter too, I think.
Always got to plug the Ultimate Fighter, right?
Huh?
You always got to plug the Ultimate
Fighter. No, I just truly believe that. I mean, if you listen to interviews with fighters, or you talk to fans that say, they got into the UFC was because of the Ultimate Fighter. So many people say that.
Yeah. Sarah Alpar, I wonder what you thought of her. She was an underdog coming in, and kind of a gutsy fight to pick up the win. What made you pull the trigger on that?
I like her style. I like the way she takes risks, and when she jumped in with that left hook from downtown, and then goes in and gets the finish. I think she needs to drop a weight class. I think that in the UFC, her at 135 pounds, you guys have all seen Amanda Nunes and some of these girls at 35 in the UFC. They're big. But this girl's gritty and tough and has a lot of heart. But you get her over at the PI, and working with some professionals that'll put her on, anytime that I say too, the guys that we get out of here, that you can get away with that shit in these other shows, fighting up a weight class. You can't get away with that in the UFC.
When you said that, she seemed to mouth like, hey, no problem. But if for whatever reason she said, I can't make 25, I mean, would you still give her a shot?
They'll let her know if she can make it or not. But when she gets over at the PI, they teach them how to cut and how to eat right and how to do everything the right way. For somebody like her, coming from where she came from, to now have full access to the UFC PI, it's a game changer.
I want to ask you about Brock Weaver. I think he was a star tonight, but how much of him getting a deal was the fight, and how much was that speech that he gave at the end, which was maybe as entertaining as the fight was?
Yeah, obviously, I was going to give it to him before the speech, but the speech didn't hurt. You know what I mean? When you have guys who have that much charisma and personality, and it's fun.
No doubt. And lastly, we saw the first developmental deal of the season, or at least the first that you've announced. What were your thoughts there? I mean, he's only been a pro for a year with William. Was that it? Just too green?
Yeah. I mean, you take a guy who's fought for 15 months and throw him into the light heavyweight division in the UFC. That's just fucking mean. That's just fucking mean. And we'll move him the way we've done a lot of guys, including Hardy.
Dana, speaking about William, do you feel like he should drop a weight class just because of the height difference that he has? I know it's going to be tough for him. But
they said he used to weigh 290 pounds.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so that guy's massive. And the first thing, never judge a book, but the first thing I said is this guy's going to gas halfway through the first round. He's carrying way too much muscle. wrong. I mean, this guy is a freak, absolute freak. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. You take a guy like this, you want to give him every opportunity that you can. He's got some talent and he's an athlete. So we'll try to move him the right way. See what happens.
Dana, I asked you about developmental deals earlier this season, and you said, we'll see what the occasion pops up. I don't think anybody disagrees that this was a great occasion to give that out. But let me ask you, especially for light heavyweights, you mentioned hardy heavyweights, these divisions where, the top talent folks, separates itself pretty quickly. Are you going to give out maybe more of these in these higher weight classes? Should we be looking out for that?
Well, yeah, it depends on, if the talented guys show up, if they're there, like a guy like tonight. Yeah. And Laura asked me what took so long tonight. That's what took so long. We were talking about, whether we should or shouldn't. Because I wouldn't want to bring a guy like that in just to get slaughtered either. You know what I mean? I'd rather let him go back out and fight in the smaller shows some more, get 10, 11 wins and see how he looks from there and then try it again. But we all agreed that we felt we should give him the shot.
And one more just on kind of other options besides contracts. I know first season, maybe even the second season, if I'm correct, you were able to parlay some people moving them over for Tough if they fit that appropriately. I know that's still in the works right now, but if Tough comes back like you hinted at, can we expect that as an option for this show as a launching pad?
Definitely. We could put guys in Tough. We could have guys fighting on Looking for a Fight. Continue to, whenever we do a show, they could fight there. And it's all about the Contender Series, the Ultimate Fighter, Looking for a Fight. It's all about getting these guys exposure. What's crazy is some of you might have been at the office before and might have seen this, but in the War Room I have all the numbers laid out on the wall of what these guys have done. Like Yusuf is fighting this weekend. He did 3.5 million viewers. 3.5 million viewers on his fight in the Contender Series. Sean O'Malley, 3.5 million viewers. Hardy did 1.6 million viewers. I mean, we take these guys that nobody knows and nobody's ever seen or heard of before, you tell their story, you watch them fight, and these things pull big numbers. And before they ever set foot in the UFC, 3.5 million people or whatever have seen them fight. And that's what these shows are designed to do, find and build talent.
How are you feeling about Saturday night? It's going to be the biggest card of the year?
Yeah, I'm so pumped for that card. Yeah, I'm really excited for that card. We had a matchmaking meeting today, and you just start looking through that main card, it's fucking ridiculous. And then, how many guys are actually from the Contender Series that are in all these cards that are coming up. It's pretty impressive.
John Jones is kind of interjecting himself into fight week already. Do you think there's a possibility he takes on the winner?
What did he do?
He's jabbing at Cormier, obviously saying he doesn't think there'll be a third fight. He doesn't want to face those demons again and won't get down to 205. Just, messing with him the way he does.
Yeah. No, hey, listen. I think that, I've been asked many times about that fight. Do I think that fight needs to happen? I don't. But do I think it should? And do I think people want it? Absolutely.
Why won't they do it at heavyweight? Because that seems to be the most interesting.
John, I want that fight at heavyweight so bad. They won't do it. Not only has John said no, Cormier has said no. Because Cormier doesn't want to beat him at heavyweight. And I was just like, listen, if you beat him at heavyweight, you can fight him at 205 again. We'll probably watch that fight 10 times if you guys want to fight 10 times. So, they won't do it. And listen, when you look at, I got John Jones, who's the greatest ever. You got Cormier, also one of the greatest ever. Both been champions forever. I'm not going to fucking fight with them, man. If they want to fight at 205, I'm not going to argue with them. Yeah. Whatever. Two of the biggest kings ever in the history of the sport. That's what they want. That's what they get.
Last thing for me, I just want to ask you about Nate Diaz being back. Looking at the metrics, all the numbers, it seems like, that fight's as big of a focus as the main event is. How excited are you to have him back? And do you worry at all that Nate will do something weird in the last week? No. Listen,
it's funny. I did this interview the other day about Nate, and Nate's one of these guys that he has this personality where it's like he's saying "fuck you" to the man, but he never really says "fuck you" to the man. You know what I mean? Every time I'm around Nate's a good kid, and I've always had a good relationship with Nate as far as personally goes. A personal relationship with him. He's tough to deal with on the business side, but personally, he's a good guy. And whatever you want to say about the Diaz brothers, when they say they're going to fight, they sign the bout agreement, and they actually, they show up and they fight. So I don't see any problems. And, the Romero Costa fight is another, huge fight. That was supposed to be a main event on another card at one point in time. So, this card's awesome, man.
You think we'll get a Diaz-Conor trilogy at some point?
I don't know. That I don't know. See how Saturday goes, and then see how September goes, and then we'll see what happens with Conor.
Dean, I can't remember if you've said it, but with the Zuffa boxing coming out, is there plans to have a boxing show like the Contender Series or anything along those lines?
Yeah, I wouldn't say, like the Contender Series, but yeah, we'll end up doing something. 100%, yeah. I don't know what or how or where or anything yet, but I would bet yes.
And Zuffa boxing will, of course, be on ESPN Plus.
That I don't know yet either. That I don't know yet. I hope so. That would be awesome. We'll see.
There's always been fighters in the UFC that have mentioned wanting to box. Would you have some of your UFC fighters fight under Super Boxing?
Probably not. I don't love it. Boxers are boxers and MMA fighters are MMA fighters. If there was ever a special situation where it was so huge and everybody wanted to see it and everybody wanted to do it, like Conor and Mayweather, I'm not saying that I would say no, but I'd prefer everybody stay in their own lane.
Dana, you inducted Vinny Paz into the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame this weekend. How did that come about?
Pazienza and I have been friends for a long time, and they wanted to surprise him with me inducting him. So his people called me and asked me if I would do it, and I said yeah. I'm really close to him, and Wayne McCullough too, who was inducted. Both really good friends of mine, and guys that I grew up watching.
Also, Henry Cejudo says he wants to be the first intergender champ. What do you make of his matchmaking skills, particularly calling out Shevchenko?
That's the wackiest shit I've ever heard. It's just fucking crazy that he would even say that.
He wants to fight,
but
he already said it.
Valentino would probably do it. Yeah. I don't even know how to respond to that or what to say, other than wow.
Who do you put your money on?
Huh?
Who do you put your money on?
I can't even fucking wrap my brain around that. Why he would say that? It's just crazy. But what are you gonna do?
Dana, just before you go, talking about this weekend, you've been a part of so many great fights at this point. What still gets your juices flowing for a really good card? What makes a good card?
Oh, fuck, man. I love the fight business so much. I love it so much that I'm actually going to get into boxing and do more work. I don't know how that's going to be possible, but I literally could do this every day, Monday through Sunday. I could do this every day. I love when you find young talent that are, when you look at what this show really is about, and these people come in and it's one night, you get one shot to lay it all on the line and fucking show everybody who you are, what your name is, and what there's nothing better than this. And if you're a fight fan, seriously, there's nothing better than this show and these fights. It really is the best. Until, you get a card like Saturday with big names in big fights where everything's on the line and like Stipe and Cormier. The way that first fight went for the heavyweight title, you got a guy in Stipe who had defended the title more times than ever. Then you got a guy like Cormier, who's just one of the baddest dudes ever in the history of the world. I mean, think about this guy, was undefeated at heavyweight, moves down to light heavyweight because his friend is Cain Velasquez and he doesn't want to, there to be anything, with him messing with Cain's division. And he comes in and cleans out the light heavyweight division and only loses to John Jones, who is the greatest. I mean, you just couldn't write this shit. It's so good, you couldn't write it. Love it.
Dana, did you hear about the rematch between Ruiz and Joshua? They booked it for December and it's in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I saw that the other day.
As a boxing promoter, where would you book that rematch?
The rematch has to be in London. The rematch has to be in London. Yeah, but the thing is about the English fans, much like the Irish, they will travel. So I think they're thinking that a lot of English fans will travel to Saudi Arabia. But I guarantee you that Eddie Hearn got an offer he couldn't refuse. So, at the end of the day, you got to go where the money is. I'm sure that's what happened.
Thank you, sir.
Cool?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for coming.